This. We're diving deep into 19th century America. But get this, through the eyes of a samurai in training.
Whoa, talk about a unique perspective, right?
Right, it's like we're not just reading history, we're practically living it through this young man.
Yeah, through his eyes.
Yeah. Okay, so the setup is New Bedford, Massachusetts,
Hmm.
this bustling whaling town. And who comes strolling in? Manjiro, fresh off the boat, from Japan.
Can you imagine?
No.
Talk about culture shock. Like, that's
Understatement of the century.
just putting it mildly. And the source material that we have for this deep dive, it does not shy away from how crazy that must have been.
No kidding. So, okay, listeners, picture this, okay?
Hmm.
Years at sea, he finally makes landfall. What does he see? The harbor's just buzzing. There are ships everywhere, crowds of people. You've got that unmistakable smell of whale oil.
Oh, it's got to be overwhelming.
Oh, I bet. He's got to be totally floored. I mean, I would be. I'd be awestruck, wouldn't you?
For sure, at first, yeah.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
can tell, I mean, the novel really captures that initial, wow, I'm in a new place. Oh, yeah.
But then, bam, reality sets in.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
He runs into this group of kids, and they just start mocking him.
Oh, no.
I know, just for how he looks, totally making fun of him. And it's just like, bam, this harsh reminder that being an outsider, it's not easy.
Oh, it's got to be brutal. It's like the feeling of being the new kid at school, but like amplified.
Oh, yeah,
Times 1,000.
totally.
You know, you show up as like, oh, new adventure. And then you're hit with this, like, not so fast, kid.
Yeah, not so welcoming. And it doesn't stop there. Remember when Manjiro sees Captain Whitfield's house for the first time?
Oh, yeah. What about it?
It's not exactly the grand estate he might have been picturing.
Right, more like fixer-upper than dream home.
Right. And I think that scene, even though it seems kind of simple,
Yeah.
it really says a lot.
Yeah.
You know, the Q&A, the analysis we read about this chapter, really digs into that.
Yeah.
Like, it becomes this symbol of how out of place they both are. The house and them. Captain Whitfield and Manjiro.
Yeah, it's almost like you can see what they're feeling on the inside just by looking at the house. It's like a physical thing.
Right.
Captain Whitfield, you know, he's kind of adrift in his own way. And Manjiro, he's just longing for a place where he belongs.
Yeah.
They're both starting over, trying to build a life.
Yeah. And that's where their relationship, captain crew, it becomes something else entirely. I mean, it's really fascinating how the essays analyze that whole dynamic. Because
Yeah.
it shifts so quickly.
It changes so fast. There's that moment, and it always gets me, when Captain Whitfield just looks at Manjiro and tells him straight up, you and I, we are family now.
Wow.
And he means it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just say it, he follows through. The captain goes all the way to New York to start making plans for their future.
Really? Like, what kind of plans?
He's thinking about buying a farm, you know, trying to create a real home for them.
A farm.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what was going through his head?
Yeah.
You know, was it just like pure goodness in his heart? Or, I don't know, maybe he saw a little bit of himself in Manjiro.
I think it's got to be both. At least that's what the experts seem to think. There's definitely a lot of compassion there. But he also understands what Manjiro's going through.
Yeah.
They're both outsiders in their own way. They connect on that level.
Makes sense. And talk about a crash course in cultural differences. I mean, it's one thing to hear America's different. It's another thing to live it.
Totally. And the book throws all these little details at you. Like, Manjiro keeps wanting to bow. And everyone's like, we shake hands here.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And the Q&A actually points out how those little things, the things we don't even think about, they're huge hurdles for someone like Manjiro. It's not just the language, it's the unspoken rules.
Right. Like the secret code of being American.
Exactly.
And sometimes those unspoken rules, they're the opposite of what Manjiro is used to. Like, remember when that wealthy guy defends him for the bullies?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what's that about?
That scene blew my mind. Like, in the Q&A, they talk about how in Japan, back then, that would never happen.
Yeah.
Nope. Social hierarchy was so strict, a wealthy person wouldn't even think about defending someone of a lower class. But here in America, boom, kindness wins. It makes you think, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Like, Manjiro steps off the boat, and it's like he walked into a parallel universe.
Right.
Where the rules are completely different. He comes from a world that's completely based on you stay in your lane, and suddenly it's like, hold on, you can be kind to anyone.
Exactly. It's like someone took his world, shook it up, and dumped it out. Now he's got to figure out how to put it all back together.
And he's got to make it make sense here in America.
Exactly.
Wow. That's wild.
And that's why his story is so fascinating, because it's not just about the 1800s. It's about figuring out a world that doesn't make sense. It's about asking why. about challenging everything you thought you knew.
And figuring out who you are in the middle of all that crazy, right?
Exactly.
And it's not just customs, right? It's bigger than that.
Yeah.
There's this, like, elephant in the room.
Oh, absolutely. Prejudice.
Yeah. You can't ignore it.
No way. And the novel, it doesn't try to make it prettier than it was. Those kids, the way they treat Manjiro, reducing him to nothing but where he's from. Awful.
It's heartbreaking.
And it just shows you 19th century America. Yeah, not all sunshine and roses. Xenophobia, that wasn't just a one-off thing. It was everywhere.
Ugh, it's like you get punched in the gut. First you're all excited, hopeful, new country, new you, then bam!
Exactly.
A reality check, right?
And what really gets me, though, is how the story shows both kinds of prejudice, the blatant kind, like those bullies, but also, like, the stuff most people don't even notice.
Oh, right. It's sneaky that way.
Totally. We talked about that wealthy guy, right? Defending Manjiro.
Yeah, but what's so weird about that? I mean, it was a good thing.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
To us, yeah, obviously. But imagine being Manjiro for a second, coming from a society where your place is your place, you don't just move up or down, and then some rich dude steps in, helps him.
Yeah, okay. I kind of see it.
It throws him for a loop is what I'm saying, makes him question everything.
Like, what world is this?
Exactly. Makes you think about prejudice in a whole new light.
So it's not just being mean, it's more than that.
Right, like sometimes it's not even about hate, it's those assumptions we make, you know? Putting people in boxes without realizing.
And are we any better now? That's what's scary.
That's what's wild, right? Hundreds of years later, and we're still dealing with this. Makes you wonder.
Seriously. Makes Manjiro's story not so distant, huh?
And I think that's why it's so important. We have to talk about this stuff, even when it's uncomfortable.
Because it's real life, right?
Exactly. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. Don't forget the good stuff. There are glimmers of hope sprinkled throughout.
Oh, for sure. Like Captain Whitfield. Talk about a stand-up guy.
The best.
He doesn't just give Manjiro a bed. He's like, your family kid.
And he means it. The way he throws himself into making a future for Manjiro, it's huge.
And the Aikens. We can't forget them.
Oh, they're the sweetest. Open their home, give him food, company. All that when he needs it most.
Like, sometimes it's the small things, Just being decent. It can change everything.
Absolutely. It's like those cheesy inspirational posters, but for real this time.
It's that little bit of sunshine peeking through the clouds, right?
Yep.
Reminds you that even when things are dark, there's always, I don't know, something good out there.
Exactly. And we connect with that so much because we need that, that feeling that we're not alone, that we belong.
It's like when
that makes us human.
Or something,
Yeah.
That need to connect, to be accepted. And Manjiro, being so far from everything he knows, he shows just how powerful that can be. You know that scene that really got to me? That part where they're both sitting on the steps of Captain Whitfield's house?
Oh, yeah. It's like this quiet moment between them, right?
Yeah, like they're both thinking about what's next. And there's this like unspoken understanding,
It's powerful. And it's interesting, right? Because here they are from totally different worlds. But the essays all point out how that scene, it's like this universal human thing. Loneliness, wanting to belong, that's something everyone gets, no matter where they're from.
Yeah, totally. And it's in that moment when they're both being kind of vulnerable that Captain Whitfield says he wants to leave the sea, to settle down, get a farm.
Yeah.
And it's like he's not just offering Manjiro a place to stay anymore. It's like he's giving him a whole future.
It's heavy stuff. And some of the sources, they suggest that the captain, he wants to give Manjiro family because he wants one too, Like, remember he mentions finding a wife, someone to be like a mother to Manjiro.
Right. So it's almost like he's finally found a place where his own dreams can happen, but those dreams, they include Manjiro now.
Yeah, like they're a package deal.
Makes you think, though, will all that be enough? I mean, can Manjiro actually feel like he belongs here after everything?
It's the question, right? The story leaves you hanging on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing that we're even thinking about it, That's how you know the writing's good.
For sure. But it's obvious. Manjiro's journey. Far from over.
Oh, definitely. And this whole thing about identity, the sources really dig into that, how he's trying to figure out who he is now.
Yeah, like he's not going to forget being Japanese, but how does that fit with being in America?
Exactly.
And it's those little moments, right? Like when he messes up some English or he's surprised by how we do things here. He's constantly adapting.
Oh, he's learning every second.
And that's relatable, isn't it? Trying to bridge two different cultures. Like, so many people deal with that.
Oh, it's a constant thing. It reminds you, your identity. It's not a fixed thing, It changes, evolves.
Makes you realize it takes guts.
Yeah.
To be okay with that. To move between worlds but not lose yourself in the process.
Yeah, and it's a lifelong process, figuring that all out.
I guess so. Well, listeners, we've really only dipped our toes into Manjiro's story today.
Barely scratch the surface.
But hopefully, you're a little curious now. Maybe seeing this time period in a new light, thanks to Manjiro.
And hey, if you want to go deeper, pick up the book, do some digging, see what you find.
That's the whole point of these deep dives, right? We get the conversation started, but then it's up to you.
You take it from here. Think critically, connect it to your own life. That's what it's all about.
Because Manjiro's story, it's about so much more than just one samurai in training. It's about resilience. It's about what it means to belong.
And that's something we're all still figuring out, right?
Right. All right, listeners, until next time.